All right. It might be working. Let me just give it a hot second. It takes a second sometimes. It looks like it's working.
Ooh.
Yay!
Well, hello there.
Yes. Hello, everybody. So, happy Friday to our Be Extraordinary Facebook group here, our network of amazing women. So, I have an extraordinary woman here live with me today. This is a very dear friend of mine, and also a powerhouse entrepreneur. She has not just her own online presence in the world, but she has a plethora of business knowledge from specific niche to just overall. So, this is my dear friend, Ginny Seely. And Ginny, do you want to introduce yourself and tell everybody where you are in the world? And yesterday I did an interview with somebody that was also near to me, but you're a little further. So tell people where you are and introduce what it is and how you serve people.
Well, we're not too far to hop in the car, so that's kind of cool. And I think you're going to be visiting my neck of the woods next month. Hopefully, we're going to try to get a little together event, so that's really fun. But I'm over in New Bern, North Carolina, and boy, I do a lot of things. I have my hand in a lot of things right now. I work full time for a hospital up in Maryland. My husband and I moved from there in 2021, and I was able to keep my job remotely, which was a huge, huge blessing to us as we got established in a new place and started a new business. So up there, I managed the quality program for a hospital laboratory. And so I have a background as a scientist and Lean Six Sigma black belt and all of that systems and process improvement stuff that's not sexy at all, but really helpful when you need it. And then my husband and I, when we moved down here to New Bern, we started a business called Cavalry Appliance Service, and he's been an appliance technician for a little more than 3 decades. So we started that business, and then through all of the things that we learned from that, we've taken some of the things that we've figured out and kind of packaged them in the processes that I'm good at from my background and tried to make those available to other business owners. So and then the other thing that we did here is we were looking for an office space. We couldn't find anything that was affordable to just kind of hire our first person and get out of our house. So we ended up finding a building that needed a lot of work, and we turned it into a co-working space. So we have our office in here.
Have this co-working space. So when I met Jenny, it was nearly 3 years ago now, I guess, which seems crazy. And the
Mhm.
co-working space was not even on the radar. Like it wasn't even like on the I want this to be done in the next year or so type.
It wasn't like it was a thought. It was like a, you know, I don't believe in magic, but I do believe that when you focus on something and you put your heart into it and it's a good thing and you pray about it and make all the things happen, then sometimes it just falls into your lap. And we call it luck sometimes. But I don't really believe in luck. I believe like preparation and putting yourself in the right circles and things like that. And we're going to talk, I'm sure, about community and surrounding yourself with the right people because you know that's what I'm all about.
Yes.
But
Yes.
we just knew that we wanted to create a space and we love other business owners and we have a heart to serve other business owners. And so it was kind of on our mind, but way down the road. And then it just kind of fell into our lap. And we bought this building just to have an office space in it for ourselves. And then two of the big tenants that occupied most of the building decided they were going to leave soon as new ownership came in. So we were like, oh my gosh, how are we going to pay the mortgage? And then we decided to open it to other business owners in the same situation as us. And it has created the most beautiful community of people that are all achieving the same types of goals. So that's been really fun. And then my passion and my heart business is Outcome Academy. And that kind of came out of all of those things put together. And it just has been a way to put all of those thoughts and processes into a package and then make them available to other business owners online and in person. So that's a
And I
lot.
love it is a lot. It is a lot. And I love the name Outcome Academy. There's so much that we have to learn in the process of following our passion and serving from our heart. Because as much as we feel sometimes that we are in alignment or we're going to be in alignment if we do XYZ, we still are like, yeah, but what's the outcome going to be? Like we want
Mhm.
the outcome, right? And then we also want to learn the process. And your name of your company is, I think, like one of the most spot on names. And especially for somebody like yourself, who is truly a scientist. I mean, you have a process and a procedure and an operating system for everything. And it's someone like me, as we were saying before we even pressed the live button, dancer. I'm like the creative mindset. I'm like, I will figure it out as we go. I don't need a process. But then somebody like Ginny comes into my life and she's like, oh, but this is the process. I'm like, oh, that feels nice.
You have a process, you just don't know it.
Yeah, yeah. But the
Yeah.
point is, I love the dance of like not even rigid, as because that word can sound kind of negative and like, ugh, that's I love that you have like a process and a clear pathway. And if you don't have a pathway, you will do the research, you will do the
Mhm.
studying. And it's such a beautiful way to say, you know, there isn't just a one-way process, especially I feel like with you and I both on the camera, we are different but similar. And when you're
Mhm.
in community, which you already hinted at, of
Mhm.
people who are not just cookie cutter all doing the same thing, which is what this network here is about. It's about extraordinary women, and every one of us is extraordinary in our own way. And that's the beauty, is that we're not all the same, we're not all even pursuing the same. You know, you said in the beginning you don't believe in magic. Some people in this community 100% believe in magic.
Mhm.
Some people believe in luck, some people don't believe in luck, some
Yeah.
people. And so that's the beauty, though, is being in a community of people who all have a different process and a different way of thinking, yet all follow the dream in some way and live the legacy, live the dream. And also doing it from a place of not just what's good for you, but what's good for us.
Mhm.
And so I love that. And your passion, Jenny, to serve people is so profound. But what I see in you as an extraordinary woman is your true ability to connect people. You are a
Thank you.
people connector. Like I think of
Yeah.
Jenny, and I think of like this big heart on your chest, holding hands with lots of people and like, come
Oh,
and like, let me
that's so
help you.
sweet.
That's just like, I envision you that way. And that's because that's what you've been in my life. And as far as creating a little network that we
Mhm.
have of people before this thing, you know, this big, beautiful platform that we're on, but, you know, really reaching out to people and caring. But also, I want people to know this about Ginny. Ginny is a mama bear. And when Ginny knows what she believes in and what she wants, like if she believes in you as a person and sees your heart and sees your passion and sees your even your potential, she's going to fight for you. And I
That's true.
think, yes, it's true, because I can hear
Mhm.
you doing that for us in our little friend circle. And I feel like that's something that a lot of women, we think, oh, well, doesn't every woman do that? Doesn't every
Mm-mm.
woman fight for the other woman? No,
No, there's a
that's
lot of competitiveness, and it's so sad. I just feel like that's so sad. And we all need somebody in our corner cheering for us, especially, my passion lies in serving other business owners, as I said earlier. And I was reflecting towards, it's the end of the year now, and I was reflecting, and each of my students has gone through something really hard this year in their own way. It could have been personal, it could have been business. But whatever it was, they really relied. It was like the water and the air for them to have somebody cheering for them and telling them they can do it. And I just feel like what a sad life to live if you can't be that for somebody else and you don't have those people in your life. Like I can't even imagine not having you. Like I see the things that you say about me, I see that in you, Ashley. Like you're the biggest cheerleader for everybody and so positive and even a little like whoop ass when you need it, if it's okay to say that word. But like, yeah, like one day you
that
said something
person.
in one of our meetings and I was like, Ashley, like I can't believe you said that. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like it's exactly what you needed to hear. And sometimes you need that tough love, but the word is love. Like you're doing it in love. Like you're not doing it to put somebody down or be competitive or anything like that. And yeah, like surrounding yourself with a community of people that lift you up, it's crucial. I don't know how you could make it in this world without that.
I agree. I agree. And um, like I was saying, in this community here, you know, this is extraordinary gifts of all sorts. And I think that it's really beautiful when we all take, even if it's just like 2 minutes, just to scroll through and find not just somebody to rave on. And I think that's beautiful, right? Uplift, support, applaud.
Mhm.
But finding somebody to just send out a little message every day, in your personal Facebook and your personal phone. Who in there have you not messaged in a while that is struggling?
Mhm.
Who in there? And I know you're big on prayer. I know you pray for people all the time. And so I just love how much energy you put, Jenny, in uplifting and supporting and cheering other people on. And that 100% comes back to you, right? Like
It does.
it always does. And so I love it. I want to
Yeah.
ask you specifically though. We already mentioned the name Outcome Academy. And so for anybody that wants to check that out, Jenny's website is just outcomeacademy.com. Nice and easy to find. But what inspired you to start your journey with Outcome Academy? Because you started that not when you were like, I have nothing else to do. I should just do this. I mean, you have so much on your plate with the hospital and then the appliance business and now the co-working space. What inspired you to create Outcome Academy? And then the next part of that question is, what keeps you motivated to make those extraordinary moves with Outcome Academy? Because it's easy. Once you start, you're like, okay, well, we did such and such, but oh gosh, it's just getting hard now. It doesn't get easier. It gets even harder sometimes. So yeah, I'd love to hear your answer on that.
So what inspired me to start it started out with just creating a community of women in my town of New Bern when we moved here. And that is like probably where it actually was born, and I didn't know it yet at the time. But when we were in Maryland, I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. And I kind of was like pushed into, I think, science and medicine because that's kind of where everybody in my family resides, is something to do with medicine. My mom's a nurse, my brother's an ultrasound tech, my dad worked on MRI equipment. So like everybody had their hands in medicine somehow. So but my creativity was always doing something business related. So I got into scrapbooking. I started making scrapbooks for people. Learned cake decorating. I started making cakes for people on the side when I was like, my kids were young and I was trying to be scrappy and make some money on the side. I was doing whatever I could. I cleaned houses when I needed to. And then before COVID happened, I had created a game called Click, and it's called Click Networking Games. And it is a mystery themed game where you have to have a personal conversation with everybody else in the room in order to solve the mystery. So it's about connecting face to face with human beings. And part of my passion was to bring that to the school systems so that we could maybe decrease some of the bullying, because it's really hard to bully somebody when you actually have a soft spot in your heart for somebody and you know something about them. So that all of that was happening before I left, and then COVID happened and nobody could meet face to face at all. So that kind of like was scrapped. But as I was trying to build that business, I entered a Shark Tank competition in my town and all this fun stuff. I found this group called the Rising Tide Society in my town. And this woman who happened to do all the photographs for me that are on my website, she's amazing. She makes me look way better than I do. Her name's Brianna Kuhlman. And she she worked with another woman and made this group of women in the Rising Tide Society. And it was so life-giving to me to be surrounded by other women who were trying to be moms or not, or whatever they had in their life that they were trying to balance around their business and building something meaningful. They all really found they cared about what they were doing and they were trying to make a difference in the world. It was so great and I loved it. And when we moved down here, I didn't have that anymore. And I was sad because I really looked forward to meeting with these women once a month. So I was like, well, I've always kind of had the spirit, if you want something and it's not there, then just do it. Like make it happen and don't wait for somebody else to get off their butt and do it. Just go do it. So I was like, all right. So I put a Facebook post in this group that this other woman created to create community here in New Bern called the New Bern Ladies Group. And I was like, is anybody else a business woman and would like to get together and just talk business? And I got a really great response. And so we started out meeting in my house, and now we meet at the co-working center every month. But what we started doing is Rising Tide Society has a curriculum that they follow, and they go over something business related every month. That's like a new topic, and they make the whole lesson for you and stuff, but they weren't making new chapters because COVID was happening. So I was like, well, oh, well, I guess I'll have to create my own curriculum. So every time I learned something new and was applying it in my own business, I made a workshop. And then I came and taught my ladies whatever I learned. I made the handouts. I made a little like agenda for the meeting. I made every day, every time we met, I said, you have to have an action statement. You're going to say, I will. And then whatever it is that we talked about in the meeting, like I will go post something new on Facebook, or I will audit my Facebook page, or whatever it was. And it just kind of grew and snowballed. And I thought, well, I'm really good at this. Like it's a natural skill to build these courses. And then I stumbled upon Amy Porterfield and Digital Course Academy, and then went down that road. And then I met you. And now I have you and Irene and, our little group in Raleigh that keeps on ebbing and flowing. We've lost a couple of people and we're gaining some people. So now I have that in my life. So Outcome Academy was born out of that need to surround yourself with community and to make things more efficient and give back. And like, if you solved a problem, you figured it out, like, don't make somebody else figure it out too. It is the most inefficient thing. And my Lean Six Sigma science self, like, drives me crazy that we're all solving the same problems, but nobody's helping each other and just sharing the secret that they found out so that the next person doesn't have to figure it out. So
Yeah, I love the word efficient. The co-creators of this community and myself, I actually used that word myself a couple weeks ago about efficient. I love that word because, there's so much stuff we can do every single day. Why recreate the wheel? Why
mhm,
have to learn it all over again? That's why I believe so much in mentorship and coaching and exactly teaching like you're doing. But I love it. Again, like I said about Ginny in the very beginning, Ginny is a people connector. She
mm,
moves and she's like, I know no one. I need to create this. Here I go. Let me connect. And now you started in your house with these women, making it as you go, figuring out what worked for you, and then sharing it as it did. And now you have a brick and mortar co-working space that people come into and work and learn. And
mhm.
it's just so beautiful. And I don't know if there's anybody else in this group that is contemplating something like that. How can they take this idea and this vision and possibly create a brick and mortar anything, a brick and mortar
Mhm.
art studio, a brick and mortar co-working space, a brick and mortar, my husband's a chiropractor, that just came to mind, whatever it is, Reiki, whatever it is that you love. And I think there's so many steps along the way from that to where you are now that seem almost probably even insignificant because it's like, oh my gosh, but this was much harder, or this was small, but this was much harder. But I'd love to ask you, Jenny, if you could think about a time in this journey, and it doesn't have to be just about the co-working space. I love the click game. I mean, all of it, you
Mhm.
do so much stuff, but a time in this journey that stands out to you that didn't necessarily feel like you were extraordinary. Like a time that maybe was like, gosh, okay. And don't say every day, don't you
I was
dare.
gonna say that, like,
You are totally extraordinary.
oh,
Obviously. I mean, you just like listed a whole 10 fingers worth of things that you've done in the past couple of years. And your children are incredibly talented and heart-centered and faith and servants. And I mean, just incredible people. Your husband, I've never met him in person, but I know that about him. And I just want to say for everybody, I feel like when you get asked this question, your face, you were like, I don't know, it's a question that makes you dig deeper because before you can answer when you didn't feel extraordinary, you have to realize that you are extraordinary. And that's a beautiful reframe for some of us to remember. And some of us in this group may feel 100% extraordinary. And some of us are like, I don't know if I fit in this group, but somebody invited me in. And everyone here fits. And everyone here, I mean, even more than fits. Like it's like busting at the seams
mhm.
already. It's 423 members. And so maybe a struggle would be a better way to say it. Like where it was just like, I don't know if I can actually do the things that are
Mm.
in my imagination in here that are put in my heart to like possibly pursue. Do you remember that time? And then if you look at that and then you look at where you are now, any monster lesson that you learned on that journey?
Yeah, well, most recently in September, we went up to Delaware to visit my family, and it was my mom's birthday weekend, and there's just a lot of things going on, and it was a really nice visit. But on the way home, I just could not stop crying, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, I just felt so sad, and I thought, what in the world am I doing? Like, why am I doing all these things? And it sounds fantastic and amazing to say like, oh, I'm doing this business and that business. And that day I just thought like, what's the point? Like I'm running myself ragged. And what I really realized that day is that I wasn't practicing what I preach. And I tell everybody to take care of themselves. And my in-person vision workshop that I do every January, we don't talk just about business, but we talk about health, life, and wellness and all the brainstorming and categories to create our vision, our personal vision for the year. And I wasn't doing any of those things. We were working all the time. We didn't take any rest. And one of my students here in the co-working space just last night was reflecting on Sabbath. And he's a very faithful guy. And he was saying, you know, when we get away from that instruction that we're supposed to have, which is to rest, like God tells us to rest. And whether you are a faithful person or not, you know, you need to rest sometimes, and you need to take care of your body and your mind and your house and your children and all those things. And Ashley, you're so good at teaching people to play and dance and just be present and in the joyful moments, and really to be intentional about creating joyful moments. And I forgot that. And I got so wrapped up in all of the stuff of life. And so that day, I tend to problem solve and research when I'm having a dilemma instead of like, and sometimes I'm not the nicest about letting other people. I have to remind myself that sometimes it's okay to just be sad and sit in that moment of sadness and reflection. And like, we don't have to solve every problem. My daughter says, Mom, I don't need you to solve my problem right now. I just need a friend. And so I try to give myself that permission too, like just to be a friend to myself. And I let myself cry. I let myself breathe and just be patient with myself. And then I downloaded Candy Crush on my phone. And my kids are always like, Mom, it's okay. You should play games, play video games sometimes. It works really great for us. So I'm like, okay. So I put Candy Crush on my phone, and then I went online and I was like, how do I get out of a funk? And the first theme that came up was serving, going out and serving, and the other one was resting. And it does bring you so much joy to serve somebody else without expecting anything in return. So like
Yeah.
going out and volunteering, getting outside, and the other one was exercise, which you're a really great advocate for. But it was about that rest. And so Joe and I recommitted that day to carving out our date nights every week and making sure that we really respect that. And we also made a commitment to each other that we are going to either choose Saturday or Sunday and not work. And from that moment on, September to now, we've really honored that. We've missed a couple date nights if we were traveling, one of us was traveling or something, but we've really made sure that we're carving out time for just fun and quality time. And the reason it was so hard for me and why I was so sad and I couldn't stop crying that day is because that's my love language. I don't know if you've ever read that book, The Five Love Languages, but quality
Yes.
time is my love language. And I wasn't giving myself the opportunity to be loved and to love myself in the way that makes me feel human. So that was a really big struggle for me. But I was able to reason it out. And I feel like not everybody can do that sometimes. And so that was a real blessing to myself to be able to take that time. I happened to be trapped in a car driving for, 6 hours. So
The
I looked
choice.
out the window and just cried like the whole time. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just kept crying. But like I was a captive audience with myself to just really think. And
Ooh, I
and
love
so
that. Captive audience with myself. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
so yeah, so I needed to practice what I preach, Ashley. Like we do that all the time, don't we? As coaches and friends and just teachers or whatever, business owners, we're always teaching somebody else something, but then sometimes we have to really just be our own student and do what we're telling everybody else to do. And I think you're a really
Well,
good role model for that.
well, thank you. But I have to catch myself too if I ever do the same thing. And it's like, whoop, catch it, redo that, and start over. There's no such thing as perfection. There's no way that you can live your own gift and your own message every single day and not falter. Because if you did, I don't know what's beeping on my computer, and I apologize if you can hear it. But if you did actually live in perfection, then you wouldn't be relatable and no one would ever want to coach with you
So
or work with
true.
you because they'd be like, well, okay, Mrs. Perfect.
Mhm.
Um, So it's one of those moments where you get to notice it, be your own captive audience, Jenny. That's so beautiful, especially from like a dancer who's been up on stages and there's an audience. Like I can just like see this vision in my head. Um, but what I love is I have a mentor that has said many, many times, like your message is for you first. And
Mm.
so anytime you catch yourself not living out your own message, your only job is to do that first. Like that's the only thing that matters. Because
So
if you don't,
good. Mm.
aside from feeling like, garbage and crying and whatever, and that's part of life too, right? The roller coaster of it. But if you don't live out your own message, eventually, long enough, you can ignore it, and then maybe you end up in the hospital, you have a panic attack, or you end up
Yep.
having poor health, or you get this addiction to something that you would prefer not to have had. But where did it start? Or you start feeling imposter syndrome because you're like, well, I don't know if I can even do this anymore, because that
Mm-hmm.
you're not living congruent. And so I love that realization, and I love it's kind of a less is more approach, right? That, just whatever your own gift is, and whatever your heart is called to do or say or lead with,
Mm-hmm.
you have to do that first. You have to be your best student and your best client in that realm of entrepreneurship. And from that point, the magic can unfold, because then you are living it. And so anybody that's watching, I would say, check in. Now that Jenny just shared that, check in with yourself. Are you living your own message?
Mm-hmm.
If you're an artist, are you painting? If you're a dancer, are you dancing? If you're somebody that preaches health and wellness, are you doing that? Are you modeling what you say? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're not, then that's going to be something that's going to cause you some friction in the
Right.
very future.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so we have a couple minutes left. I want to ask you one more thing. What advice would you give to someone who is looking to step into their power and make their extraordinary moves? So you have done that and you continue to do it. And if we falter, we get back up and we just do it again. Not a big deal, right? It's so easy, so easy. You hopefully you catch the sarcasm there. So what advice? We all need tools. We all need tips. We all need to hear it from somebody else, right? If we can save somebody some heartache, what's something that you do, Jenny, that helps you to step into your power of this
Mm-hmm.
creator and this heart server and connector that you are?
I would say my go-to thing is to surround myself with people that are further along than me, or better at me in the thing that I'm struggling at, or whatever that is. But so, we've heard this a million times, I'm sure. You're a product of the people that you surround yourself with, the 5 people often you hear. I try to make those people better than me at whatever I'm struggling with, but also like people that bring me joy, people that challenge me, people that tell me hard things when I need to hear them. And sometimes one of those people is a podcast or a book or something like that, that I intentionally choose content that resonates with whatever I need to hear at that time. So I think that's pretty much my go-to is just seeking it out, like, and not being afraid to try and fail, and be good at failing. I think there's a book called Failing Forward. I think I read that a really long time ago, but failing and being not afraid to fail and doing better next time. And I try to share that with my kids. Connor is in his last year of engineering school, in his freshman year. This is not a joyful topic, but I think it was 13 students at NC State died by suicide that year, and many of them were from the engineering program. And so that was so heartbreaking. It makes me get tears in my eyes right now. All those families sent their kids to school with all these hopes and dreams, and then they didn't come back. And so I said to Connor and the other students that I knew that were in his circle, um, it's okay to fail. It's good to fail. You're going to learn, and don't take everything so seriously. It took me 6 years to get my undergraduate degree, and I worked on my master's when my kids were like 10 or 11 years old. So like you can do it in your own time. You don't have to do things so urgently. You don't have to put so much pressure on yourself. And failure is a good thing because it helps you get resilient. It helps you learn a better way to do something. So um, permission for yourself to just try and get it wrong and give yourself grace, and surround yourself with people that are going to help you when you fail and make you feel like you're not a failure, because failing does not equal failure.
Yeah, and
Um,
I wrap up that last part to the very first thing you said. So you said in the beginning that you seek out, right? Whether that be a podcast or a book or a community of people, you seek them out whenever you're struggling or whatever, or people that are ahead of you. And then at the very end, and gosh, I don't think my brain is about to lose my thought. It was so good. Yeah, I was going to piece it together for you because it was like, oh yes, you said this is the beauty of being live. You said that, you know, it's not being afraid, but I think it's also finding the people. Here it comes. It's coming back, Ginny. It's finding the people that are willing to lead by example, not lead from a place of I have never messed up. Look how good I am. It's leading authentically as like, well, that happened and that did not feel good, but this is what was on the other side of it. So I feel like the way you just shared that, it's such a beautiful reminder to people to keep showing up in your life exactly how, where you are. You don't have to pretend to be somebody else. You don't have to pretend to know more than what you know. You don't have to pretend to have experienced more than what you're already experiencing, because that is not going to connect you with the people that you're supposed to be connecting with anyways. And it's not going to help others at all. It's going to help others actually beat themselves up more because they're like, well, they figured out. No one
not
does.
genuine. It's lying. Like if you're pretending to be
Yes.
great and everything's perfect, you're just lying. And I'm not saying go on Facebook and air all your dirty laundry and the fight you just had with your husband. And nobody needs, you know, like you don't need to go there, but be authentic. And I hate that word. It's so overused, but like it's just show
A
up
word that has a
honestly.
lot of meaning to it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. And if I may, one thing I've been thinking about this since you said it, like I said in the beginning, I don't believe in magic. I do believe in magic inside of you.
Right.
I believe in the magic that you can create. I don't believe that poof, all of a sudden somebody's a rock star or poof, you're a success. We don't, it's not a magical experience like that. Like it happens instantaneously, like in the Disney movies, like there's a magic wand and all of a sudden you're whatever. Like there's years and years and years of hard work that goes in before you see somebody suddenly have this transformation or show up online and be making $10 million like Amy Porterfield with her launches. You know, she has such a great video where you see her in her early days and she's showing up like with her husband and a bag of Cheetos or something in the background and just like really silly stuff, but that's showing up authentically like we were talking about. So so all those failures, all the hard work, all the people that are in your life for a season that are just there to help you get through whatever you need to on your journey, like they're all pieces of where you came from and who you are today.
Yes.
So,
Yes. It's all part of the process for my science
and that
oriented.
is magic. That is
And
magic.
so you believe in magic, you just don't believe in instantaneous results, right? You
Correct.
believe in
Yeah.
putting in the work
Yeah.
and being
Yeah.
consistent and putting in the reps. Exactly.
Yeah.
So my
So
gosh. Well, Jenny, I want you to go ahead and share if there's anything else where people can find you and connect with you when they watch this, if they feel called to be like, oh, I think I need more Jenny in my life. I know Outcome Academy is what I said for your website.com, but is there anything else where you'd like them to find you, social media or anything like that? Or
I wish I was better at posting regularly on Facebook, but I do have a Facebook page. Outcome Academy has a Facebook page. I have a Facebook page as well. You can find me online. I usually reserve my personal Facebook page for personal people that I know in real life because my kids like to be a little more anonymous. But yeah, the Outcome Academy Facebook page, Instagram, or on the website is so great. And people can email me at ginny@outcomeacademy.com, and I would be so happy to get back to them in an email and just let them know the joy they added to my day just by reaching out. Because, like you said, it's community. It's what it's all about.
I love it. I love it. Well, I just dropped your website in the chat here, and feel free, Jenny, to kind of come back in and out as the days come, as people catch these replays. I just want to thank you again for your time. It has been so much fun to speak with you and share and highlight your extraordinariness, because you really are one big heart-centered woman, and you do your best to show up every day for you, for everyone you love, and for those that you can serve. So thank you, Jenny, for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here, and I just love you. You're such a light in my life. So thank you.
All right.